Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Hey everyone, welcome back to J is for Justice. My name is Jay and I'm your host today. Welcome back in. I'm so happy to see that a lot of you have made it for this new Kohberger news. John Gone Girl. We got Jammers. We got Shell, Kels, Lovey, Amy C. Nope, not today. Ange Carter, Linda S. We got Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. I see Cheryl all over these streets. Shell, Alyssa. What's happening, everybody? We've got some craziness. And I think that Brian Kohberger is crazy. He wants a bunch of stuff thrown out, guys. Plus, he wants a Frank's hearing. We're going to talk a little bit about the Frank's hearing that happened in the Delphi case. And a Frank's hearing means that he's alleging that someone, like a cop, lied. I don't know why I'm so washed out. It's whatever. Hey, Bayou. Jaguars. Hey, Cooter. Jaguar Cooter. Okie Cooter. Y'all from Oklahoma, have you ever heard of Karen Silkwood? You guys that live in Oklahoma, put a 1 in chat, or anybody, really. Anybody, if you've heard of Karen Silkwood, put a 1 in chat. Hi, Lori. What's up, Kels? Kels bought a J for Justice unisex hoodie from the store yesterday. Thank you so much for your support. We're going to be putting some new merch up in that bish. Hey, Golden Fleece. You have heard of Karen Silkwood. Yes, says Okie. I just watched, and hey, Gone Girl. I just watched an hour-long special on Karen Silkwood. Christine says yes. Rhonda says, can we cover it? I would love to cover it. Hey, Creole lady. Rhonda. Sin, thanks for coming in. Potato. Lisa, go Lions. Rawr. Yes, we won again. Hey, Shorty. Showdy, did you get the email? All right, very good. Very good, very good. All right, so without further ado, let's get into these documents because there's a lot of them. Hey, the lovely Diana. Steelers 1-2. Outdoorsy. Sherry. Okay, you remember it live and in person, the the Karen Silkwood story? Crazy. Okay, so if you know who Karen Silkwood is, do you think that she was murdered? Or do you think it was an accident? Because this is all about this nuclear plant in Oklahoma, and this woman got contaminated. She was contaminated with what is it? I can't remember the name of it. I know y'all are going to make fun of me, but whatever she was contaminated with from the nuclear, it's not radiation, but plutonium. Is that it? I know I'm going to get laughed at. So I'm like, you think she was murdered? Plutonium. Thank you, Christine. Yes. So she contaminated her roommate and a male friend as well. And they died of cancer. And then she had this wreck, but there's like this big conspiracy because she was kind of being a whistleblower. Nuclear. But seriously, it's a crazy story if you haven't heard it. It was plutonium, yeah. Okay, so back to switching gears to the Idaho 4, Brian Kohberger.
Brian Kohberger.
His lawyers have filed a lot of shit. So the first thing we're going to look at is the motion for the Franks hearing. This is only 2 pages. This says, comes down, Brian Kohberger, by and through his attorneys, moves the court to conduct a Franks hearing. This motion is made pursuant to the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. A proffer and exhibits are filed contemporaneously in support in accordance of State v. Fisher. The parties stipulate to the sealing of the proffer and exhibits. Exhibitees.
Exhibitee. EXHIBITY.
A stipulation is filed contemporaneously. The under seal proffer and exhibits are being provided to opposing counsel and court staff via email on the date of this motion. Hand delivery will occur no later than November 18th, 2024. So if we go here and we go, what is a Franks hearing? A Franks hearing is a legal proceeding that challenges the validity of a search warrant. So we're going to get to all of the evidence that Brian Kohberger wants thrown out. Hi, Darcy. Because he said there were lies made when conducting the search warrant. During a Franks hearing, the defense can request a hearing, file a legal document called a Franks motion, which is what happened, challenge the warrant. They present evidence to challenge the truth of the information in the document. Hi, sharing and caring. Prove the warrant is invalid. Demonstrate that the affidavit contained false or misleading information. I just wonder if any of this is true. Because, I'm not like saying this is a conspiracy, but when the chief of Moscow put Brett Payne as the lead investigator, do you guys think that this could cause some problems? I don't know. I know the FBI was involved. I know that the ISP was involved, but Moscow remained the lead on this case. So do you guys think that it's possible that there was some misinformation put in the affidavit in this case? Because we've learned a lot from Delphi. So in Delphi, they actually presented the evidence to a judge to sign off to arrest Richard Allen based on that ballistics. Based on the ballistics saying that bullet matched Richard Allen's gun. Right? Anything is possible, says Shell. Shell's like, I'm not discounting shit at this point. Hey, LA. Hi, Jen. John Gahn says, ultimately, I think he will walk. Oh my God, this thing keeps falling. What's up, Ganja? Wop, wop, wop. Wop, wop, wop. My mic's fucking up. Look at it. It keeps falling. But I was really disappointed when I heard, hi, Jenny. I was really disappointed when I heard that there was ballistics that didn't necessarily match, that she had to shoot the gun to get them to match. They just weren't, it wasn't kosher. I think he's guilty as well, but that's not what we're talking about. Hold on. Let me fix this. Give me a second. I had to get crafty the other night in Discord and use my mic to stream it. We did it like old school. I had my camera set up on the computer screen because Netflix kept blocking me out. Oh, I'm telling you, Diana, this is going to be a nightmare anyway, I think, because this may delay. So while we go through these, I want you to keep in mind things that we talked about a couple years ago. We talked about the similarities between other crimes, such as Ted Bundy's, such as Danny Rawlings, BTK. We've gone over a lot of serial killers, their patterns, the things that happened in their cases, in their trials, etc., and we've compared them to Brian Kohberger. So let's take a look at what he wants to suppress, because we know that they want to give him a fair shot, right? They don't want him to have a reason to appeal. They don't want him to have a reason that the families have to be back in court because something was fucked up. But I can easily see, after what happened in Delphi, something screwy happening here. I just can. And I can't say why. I just can. I just wouldn't be surprised at this point. But we're going to look at what he wants to suppress, which is pretty much freaking everything. Okay. Hey, Paul. Hope you're doing well today, Paul Meadowbug. Good evening, Lucia. They have a sheath with nearly no DNA and no chain of custody. Something is wrong with the DNA. I don't know what they have or don't have, but let's go through. Okay, the first thing they want to suppress is the genetic info, which is where they got Brian Kohberger's dad to begin with, right? And this is just a basic 2-page. The other ones are more detailed. This is to throw out the genetic findings. And it says this motion is being filed pursuant to the Honorable John Judge's previous order stating that pleadings related to this motion must be filed under seal until the court could review the issues and arguments filed. So we can't see anything. But genetic info, number 1. Number 2, Amazon. Now, this is where we believe he purchased the knife. Amazon. Comes now Brian Kohberger buying through his attorney of record.
And you know what I have to say?
Ann C. Taylor. They want to suppress all data found by law enforcement from its search of his Amazon.com account. Everything they found in Amazon, he wants gone. The issues. Mr. Kohberger has a privacy interest in his Amazon.com account information. Says that it's protected by the Idaho Constitution and Fourth Amendment, requiring information that requires a warrant. The affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant recklessly or intentionally omitted material information. The affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant included information that must be excised. All information in the affidavit was gathered because law enforcement's unconstitutional use of investigative genetic genealogy, and thus nothing in this warrant should remain. Information gathered about Mr. Kohberger via previous invalid warrants must be excised. Well, Betty's turkey neck, buckle up, because basically every search warrant they had, he is now asking for them to be suppressed. The facts of this are the Pennsylvania law enforcement, along with Idaho officers from Idaho and the FBI, raided Mr. Kohberger's parents' home on December 30th, 2022, and arrested him. At some point, an FBI agent subpoenaed Amazon records belonging to Mr. Kohberger. On both December 30th and January 27th, 2023, Amazon responded with records. Perhaps recognizing that subpoenaing Mr. Kohberger's records was a violation of the Idaho Constitution, on April 26, 2023, Detective Mowry of the Moscow Police requested a warrant for the same information, telling the court that an unnamed FBI special agent had located requested information. The warrant was amended due to a date error and ultimately issued May 8th, 2023. The affidavit for the warrant was signed by Detective Mowry. However, most of the information in the warrant was cut and pasted from an affidavit originally bearing the signature of Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker. But according to Mowry, now the sworn statement of Corporal Payne. Remember we talked about this in the beginning? Do you guys remember this? We talked about this because Blaker's and Payne's affidavits were almost identical. You remember that? I know, Potato, you remember that. We were like, wait a minute. The two are identical. So I don't know if that's a problem. I'm not a lawyer. The basic facts Mowry used to support the search beyond the arrest warrant facts were very minimal. A vague reference that an FBI special agent located an account for Kohberger. Amazon provided order history records regarding customer email Brian Christopher 1994 at gmail.com. How the agent located this was not explained. Investigators know that Amazon holds records for identifying devices for customers used to access their account, all linked accounts, other items customers have to search, clicked onto, placed in cart viewed, or saved. Who or how the investigators know this is not explained. Little information about how Amazon collects and holds data was explained. The time frame March 22nd through March 30th and November 1st through December 6th were selected. So the argument, it cites all these criminal cases. So I'm not gonna read all of this, but I'm gonna kind of sum it up. Okay, as this court is no doubt aware, the third-party doctrine holds that information shared with anyone with whom a person does not have a recognized evidentiary privilege is free for the government to take without a warrant. To put it another way, the third-party doctrine insists, as a matter of law, that you should trust your secrets to no one. I mean, it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Third-party doctrine, citing case law. Okay, this case is not about bank records, but banca records, but it's about purchase records from an online company. From the standpoint of the Fourth Amendment, one's behavior with Amazon can provide a massive amount of information about a person's private life, such as, oh, I know they do Creole. I just don't read all that. Your name, address, searches, and recordings when you speak to Alexa. It knows. My Alexa just is listening to me now. It knows your orders, content you watch on Prime, your contacts if you upload them, and communications with it via email. Meanwhile, while you use this website, cookies are tracking to enhance your shopping experience. Blah, blah, blah. From this information, Amazon can work out where you work, where you live, how you spend your leisure time, and who your family and friends are. So he's worried about his privacy. I mean, it's talking about Ring doorbells. How many pages is this one? 15. I think there's a conclusion at the end. Here we go. Mr. Kohberger requests this court suppress all evidence obtained by police via the subpoenas and warrants that permitted them to search his Amazon account. As explained above, a warrant was required to search his account, and the warrants used lacked probable cause as written, given its heavy reliance on conclusion reached by law enforcement without details necessary for the magistrate to draw its own conclusions, and because the warrant omitted exculpatory information and information that put into question the reliability of the facts upon which it relies, and finally, because the affidavit relied on evidence gained in violation of the Constitution. And this is signed J. Logsden. And then all the proof is filed under seal. Let's go to the next one. apartment. His apartment. Apartment search warrant. Wants thrown out. Brian Kohberger, through his attorneys of record, submits the following motion and memorandum in support of an order suppressing all evidence gathered by law enforcement as a result of the search of his apartment located at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, G201, Pullman, Washington. Hi, Nicole. Hey, Island. Island's talking about Costco parking lots. So it says, all information in the affidavit was gathered because of law enforcement's unconstitutional use of investigative genetic genealogy, and thus nothing in the warrant should remain. It all says the same thing, except for the facts and the conclusion. Due to the haphazard way in which law enforcement has kept and disclosed records in this matter, the following are the facts relating to obtaining the search warrant for Brian's apartment. On December 28th, 2022, Trooper Leary of the Pennsylvania State Police became aware of the objective of arresting Mr. Kohberger via Moscow Police Corporal Payne. On December 29th at 4:45, a magistrate in Pennsylvania issued a search warrant for Mr. Kohberger's person. On December 29th, 2022 at 2:22 p.m. Pacific, the magistrate in this matter signed an arrest warrant for Mr. Kohberger in Latah County. The affidavit for the warrant was signed by Moscow Police Department Corporal Brett Payne. Hi, Trix. The basic facts Payne used to support the search were: 1. Next to the body of Madison Mogan was a tan leather knife sheath. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA on the button stamp of the knife sheath. 2. Footage from the King Road neighborhood showed what police suspected was the vehicle of the killer. The white sedan lacked a front license plate. A, quote, vehicle specialist decided based on the footage that the vehicle was a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. A vehicle matching that description was spotted via surveillance in Pullman. It was later discovered that Mr. Kohberger drives a 2015 Hyundai Elantra, and he lived not far from the last place a white sedan was seen pulling in Pullman over an hour later. The same specialist indicated the car seen in Pullman was a 2014 to 16 Hyundai Elantra. 3. Witness Dylan Mortensen had indicated the height of the person she saw at the time of the attack was between 5'10" and 6 foot, and they had bushy eyebrows. Police determined Mr. Kohberger fit that description. Records from August 21st, 2022 traffic stop showed Mr. Kohberger was the driver of a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates lacking a front plate. It also showed that he had the phone number 509-592-8458. He noted investigators learned this was an AT&T number. I don't know why investigators is in quotes, but it is. Mr. Kohberger had changed his vehicle registration to Washington on November 18th, 2022. Cell tower records did not show Mr. Kohberger was in Moscow at the time of the murders. In law enforcement's experience, however, people committing crimes typically turn off their phones. These are the things that they're saying that Brent Payne used when writing this affidavit up. 7. Historical cell site location information was obtained and given to a cellular analysis survey team, CAST, with the FBI. The team determined that on May 13th, 2022, at approximately, or that on November 13th, sorry, did I say May? November 13th, 2022, approximately 2:42 a.m., Mr. Kohberger's phone was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to his apartment in Pullman. They support the idea that he left his apartment and went south. They supported the phone being off. They support at 4:48 a.m. that the phone is south of Moscow near Blaine. The phone utilizes resources that make their way back to Pullman, coinciding with a white Elantra seen on some surveillance. A similar data showing occurs at 9 a.m. the next day, with a trip to Moscow and returning at 9:32. The same team determined Mr. Kohberger had been to Moscow on at least 12 occasions prior to the event, and that he came into the area the morning following the murders. However, law enforcement, without explanation, indicated it did not believe that final trip ever occurred. At 2:43 p.m. on December 29th, a criminal complaint and probable cause were filed in this matter. At 10 p.m., Pennsylvania SWAT began preparations to arrest Mr. Kohberger. Despite days of constant FBI surveillance, PA law enforcement did their own surveillance, starting at 11:15 p.m. And despite the fact that the constant FBI surveillance showed Mr. Kohberger was unarmed and tended to go for runs in his parents' neighborhood, police decided that in the dead of the night, within his parents' home, was the way to make their arrest. At 9:25 on December 29th, a Superior Court judge in Washington issued a warrant for Mr. Kohberger's apartment in Pullman. That warrant was based on the affidavit of Assistant Chief Don Daniels of the WSU Police Department. That affidavit shows that Sergeant Blaker of the Moscow Police Department requested the assistance of WSU Police Department investigating this case. That affidavit relied on the same information outlined above. On December 30th, Pennsylvania SWAT and federal agents raided Mr. Kohberger's parents' home. Law enforcement arrested Mr. Kohberger. On December 30th, 2022, Idaho State Police, Moscow Police, and other law enforcement searched Mr. Kohberger's apartment in Pullman. So then they have the argument. The first question this court must determine is whether there is a conflict of laws in this matter, whether Idaho law or Washington law controls the validity of the search warrant for the apartment. Unlike the issue of arrest warrants, cases involving multi-state investigations have produced far less case law. In fact, the defense could not find a precise case on point for the state of Idaho. So here we are. They're using the interstate, the Pullman versus Moscow, going over state lines. I'm not really sure what that means. Okay, so we're going to scroll through this. There's a lot of them, guys, that we have to read through. I was surprised. Okay, here we go. All information. Okay, so the genetic genealogy. Here's some more about that. Mr. Kohberger has argued in a separate motion that the genetic genealogy investigation in this matter was done in violation to the Constitution. Additionally, he argues there would be no investigation into him without that original constitutional violation. It is not that the results of the IGG sped up the investigation. Instead, they focused the investigation on Mr. Kohberger, a person whose only connection to the case was his mode of transportation and the shape of his eyebrows. Two identifications of little to no value. As the Idaho Supreme Court explained, while the initial burden in showing a factual nexus between the illegality of the evidence, the state must show it would have been discovered anyway. The state cannot make this showing without IGG. There is no case, no request for his phone records, surveillance of his parents' home, no DNA taken from his driveway, in a gated community, subject to a refuse removal ordinance. Because the IGG analysis is the origin of this matter, everything in this affidavit should be excised. Separately, the information gathered via the warrant for Mr. Kohberger's AT&T account and the pen trap and trace device warrant should be excised for the reasons set out in those warrants. Mr. Kohberger requests this court to suppress all evidence obtained by the police warrant that permitted them to search his apartment. All right, let's go to the next one. Because that's filed under, all of these are filed under seal, so we don't see, what they are. The next one going to be what? Apple. Brian Kohberger, by and through his attorneys of record, submits the following memorandum with exhibits in support of his contemporaneously filed motion for an order suppressing all data found by law enforcement from its search of his Apple accounts, primarily his iCloud account. Hey, Ministry. Hey, Donald. So he's saying the iCloud. So I wonder what was in his iCloud. I'm wondering. The issues. Mr. Kohberger has a privacy interest in his Apple account information. And it says the same reason because of the genetic genealogy. So they're using the genetic genealogy as a base to throw all this shit out. Like, if you didn't do the genealogy thing, you wouldn't have found me. I think is what basically he's saying, right? All right, hold on here. All right. I'm going to go off camera for a few. Whew, okay. When I do a lot of reading, I don't like to be on camera all the whole time. Okay, so facts. On December 21st, 2022, the FBI issued a preservation request letter to Apple. On December 30th, PA law enforcement, along with officers from Idaho and the FBI, raided Mr. Kohberger's parents' home at 119 Lambsden Drive in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. An iPad was located at the parents' home, but it was not seized because it was found in the common area. You feel that, Jams? Yeah. I'm feeling you. Have you guys hit that like button yet? Sophia Petrillo. During a subsequent search of Mr. Kohberger's vehicle, a receipt was located for an Apple iPod. iPad. So an iPad was located, but it was not seized. And then when they searched his vehicle, they found a receipt for an iPad. I mean, they can say this. It doesn't mean it's true.
What?
But do you believe this? I kind of believe it. I don't know. Based on incomplete records available to the defense, FBI served a grand jury subpoena on Apple on January 12th, 2023. Apple responded January 27th for 2 Apple accounts. The data was shared with Corporal Brett Payne of the Moscow Police Department. Subsequently, Apple sent an email to FBI tactical specialist Maria Tyndall acknowledging receipt of a preservation request on April 6th, 2023. Over the next few days, Detective Mowry of the Moscow Police Department was included in an email chain discussing Apple's response. The communication reference, quote, setting up a chat with Apple's point of contact to discuss issues that need clarified or resolved. The communications also include Apple telling law enforcement which accounts do or do not exist for Kohberger, perhaps recognizing that subpoenaing Mr. Kohberger's records was a violation of the U.S. and Idaho constitutions. On August 1st, 2023, Corporal Payne of the Moscow Police requested a warrant for the same information subpoenaed by Apple by the FBI, admitting in his affidavit that the FBI had already subpoenaed the requested information. Corporal Payne served the subpoena later that day. Why are they doing it twice? Legit. They requested his original records January 12th, 2023. And then they got it back on January 27th. And then Apple emailed the FBI on April 6th. And then Moscow Police Department had an email going. And then they request the information again from... Yeah, why are they doing that? I don't get that, LA. Unless there's more information they could possibly get from it. Why would they need to request? Hey, Julianne. Hey, Nid. Miss Margaret needs some Z's. At first, I thought your name said need some as. I was like, what? So Corporal Payne then requested it again, acknowledging that the FBI already got it, and did it again on August 7th, 2023. And then on August 9th, 2023, Payne and Mowry downloaded the data. On August 1st, 2023, affidavit for search warrant was signed by Corporal Brett Payne. However, most of the information in the warrant was cut and pasted. Again, that same issue of Payne and Blaker's probable cause affidavits being the same. The basic facts Payne used to support the search, beyond those included in the arrest affidavit, were 1, his knowledge of Apple and what data it maintains with an Apple ID. Thank you, Green Eyed, for your super sticker. Thank you so much.
Roberta.
The method that iCloud uses to create, store, access, share, and synchronize data on any internet-connected device, including backup of devices' data. 3, on January 7th, 2023, Apple had responded to the federal grand jury subpoena that a, quote, full iCloud account under the name Brian Kohberger was in active status, quote, and another account, Wi-Fi Army owns at yahoo.com, was inactive. They're giving us all his damn emails. Are you guys taking note of this? Hey, Grammy. Are you guys taking note of all these emails? Because we can Google them. Wi-Fi Army owns at yahoo.com. Using the information in the federal grand jury subpoena, Corporal Payne determined that the AMS subscriber account was linked to B. Kohberger at spartan.northampton.edu. Timing of account access as searched by Corporal Payne was around December 20th, 2022, when Payne knew Kohberger was in Pennsylvania, quote, still accessing the Apple account with a known iCloud before the homicides and then days before his arrest. No, I don't think it is either. Number 5. Oh, wait, I already read that. Number 6, Corporal Payne requested a very broad time frame of October 7th to December 30th, 2022, and for any and all Apple accounts leaked. So now they go on to state, case law. Here at stake is data collected by Apple through Apple accounts or iCloud associated with Mr. Kohberger. The records the state sought included, and then it goes on to say all the things they wanted. We've gone through that a million times. In this matter, Corporal Payne specified in his request that the purpose for gathering the information from Apple was a belief that the Apple accounts would provide, quote, information concerning Kohberger's plans, thought process, research, locations, photos, or other pertinent information stored on his Apple account, including his iCloud account. Pursuant to Carpenter, to the extent that information gathered included information from an Apple account created in 2016 and an iPad purchased in 2018. Such information included device backups, private emails, documents, photos, and videos that predated the applicable time frame that Mr. Kohberger was in the Moscow-Pullman area. Mr. Kohberger has a privacy right protected by the Fourth Amendment. This was, in essence, a cell phone search. All right. And then it says again, this case is not about bank records, but about data collected from a third party from devices associated with Mr. Kohberger's Apple accounts. From the standpoint of the Fourth Amendment, the data Apple collects can provide a massive amount of information about a person's private life. In his affidavit supporting the issuance of a search warrant, Corporal Payne acknowledged that Apple products often require the creation of an Apple account. Then it goes on to talk about everything Apple has on us, I guess, basically. And then if we go down, let's see how many pages. This one's 20 pages because this basically has everything. So here again, he's arguing about the genetic genealogy, and he argues that there would be no investigation into him without that original constitutional violation. If you guys want to read these, obviously you can read them in their entirety. There's just a lot. Let's get down to the conclusion. Here we go. Mr. Kohberger requests this court suppress all evidence obtained by police via the subpoenas and warrants that permitted them to search his Apple and iCloud. As explained above, the search warrant affidavit contained information related to the illegal search of law enforcement on data produced pursuant to a subpoena. The search warrant itself orders seizure, the search warrant itself orders seizure, not search, and is overbroad. The probable cause is written, omitted exculpatory information, and information that put into question the reliability of the facts upon which it relies. So they want that thrown out. Whew, we got through the Apple one. Look at, there's all these. Next one. Arrest warrant. Each one of these is filed separately, by the way. Each thing he wants thrown out. So basically, it says, due to the haphazard way in which law enforcement, including the prosecutor's office, has kept and disclosed records in this matter, the following is a rough statement of facts as best the defense can tell. On December 28th, Trooper Leary of the PA State Police became aware of the objective of arresting Mr. Kohberger via Corporal Payne. Then it lists on December 29th, they got the search warrant for the home, blah, blah, blah. This is all repetitive. Again, here's the argument. Mr. Kohberger requests the court suppress all evidence obtained by police via the warrant that permitted them to arrest Mr. Kohberger. As explained above, law enforcement failed to knock and announce before raiding the home. The warrant lacked probable cause as written, given heavy reliance on conclusion reached by law enforcement without the details necessary for the magistrate to draw its own conclusions. And because the warrant omitted exculpatory information and information that put into question the reliability of the facts upon which it relies, blah, blah, blah. So the arrest warrant. Now, AT&T first warrant. Wi-Fi Army is the game. Huh. Hey, Rakin. Okay, the next one. AT&T first warrant. On December 23rd, 2023, Corporal Payne requested a warrant to search the contents of Mr. Kohberger's AT&T account for information regarding his phone's whereabouts. Between November 12th and November 14th, as well as messages and phone calls during that period. The affidavit was signed by Corporal Payne. The basic facts Corporal Payne used to support the search are discussed in a separate motion for Frank's hearing. They are incorporated but not repeated here. So this says everything they requested from AT&T. Muddy Paws. The issue with her entire argument is the IGG didn't... The issue with her entire argument is the IGG hit didn't occur until 12/19. They already had enough for the warrant without it. Thank you for your super chat, Muddy Paws. And you're probably right. You're probably right. I'm going to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is another stall tactic, or do you think this is legitimate? Put a 1 in chat if you think it's a stall. Put a 2 if you think this is legitimate. And by legitimate, I mean, do they know that all of this stuff is correct and just? Or do you think that they know everything's done right and they're just trying to delay? 1 for delay, 2 for legit. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. A lot of you guys think stall tactics. Some of you don't, though. Elser and TC, Sin, Lucia, Suze. You guys don't think it's stalling. You think it's legit. Creole says 2. Ramblin says 2. LA, Green Eyed. And the rest of you are like, no, he's stalling for sure. Tiffany, you believe it's legitimate, not playing. Lisa, you feel the same way. Thank you for letting me know, guys. Ray, PKC, you guys all think it's stall. I think it's stall tactics as well, but let's keep reading. And I'm going to show you a little bit of Ted Bundy. I've got a little clip I found for you guys. You may or may not find it interesting, but I found it to be extremely interesting. Let me just throw out a little piece of random fun fact. Did you guys know? Yes or no? Genius strategy, but sleazy. Yeah. It's good to see you, Muddy Paws. Good to see you. You shook up the tubes a couple days ago. In a good way. In a good way. Sweet Crazy. Hello, hello. This is what Brian Kohberger is trying to get thrown out. We're going through each one. Rakin. You don't bother me at all, hon. I appreciate you. Ann is protecting his constitutional rights. My constitutional rights, god dang it. So let's get back to the AT&T. Let's just go down to the conclusion because we know what phones pretty much save. We don't know anything about these case laws, but let's look at this. Look at this. Let's read this argument. The Wheeler case is important to this case, not simply for the concept of a temporal limitation on the information to be sought, but for the principle that the government must make the warrant as particular as it knows how to make it. In the case at bar, the government is investigating a quadruple homicide in Idaho. Does it make sense to see if there is some hint at wanting to fight someone from 2 years prior? 5 years? 10? What does that mean? what of everything else that may be relevant to what the police knew? The K-bar sheath and the Elantra, for that matter. What of the victims themselves? The sororities and fraternities. Oh, welcome to the Clicker Club, Muddy Paws. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man. Click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Good to have you. The warrant could have specified what was to be seized, but it did not. The court in Wheeler condemns government attempts to cast too broad a net under these circumstances. Again, they say because of the genetic genealogy. Here's the conclusion. Mr. Kohberger requests this court suppress all evidence obtained by police via the warrant for his AT&T phone records. As explained above, this warrant lacked probable cause as written, given its heavy reliance on conclusions reached by law enforcement without the details necessary for the magistrate to draw its own conclusions, and because the warrant omitted exculpatory information. Next one is cell phone data. Just totally broad. Cell phone data. Comes now. Brian Kohberger, by and through his attorneys of record, submits the following memorandum in support of his contemporaneously filed motion for an order suppressing all data found by law enforcement from its search of the Seagate 2TB external USB drive with serial number blank. So this is for his external hard drive. God knows what's on all this shit, right? Okay, hold on. Mr. Kohberger requests this court suppress evidence obtained by police via the search of the copy of his cell phone created by the FBI. As explained above, the warrant used lacked probable cause as written, given its heavy reliance on conclusions reached by law enforcement without the details necessary for the magistrate to draw its conclusions. And because there was nothing, it's all the same. That one's the same. So we got cell phone data, Google. That's a big one. These are all big ones that would hold a lot of information. It doesn't make him an innocent man, says Diana. So this one, they want to suppress all data found by law enforcement from its search for Google data obtained from 3 warrants dated January 3rd, 2023, January 23rd, and February 24th, 2023. Oh, you're kidding, Muddy Paws. Ormond Beach. Oh, my God. Thank you for letting me know, Muddy Paws. I hope they find that baby. Hear about that way too often. That data includes emails, personal contacts, financial information, documents, PowerPoint presentations, photos, IP addresses, and more. All right, here's some more emails. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I don't think we're supposed to know all these emails, but here we go. PA law enforcement, along with officers from Idaho and FBI, arrested Kohberger on December 30th, 2022. Subsequent to Mr. Kohberger's arrest, many warrants were executed. On January 3rd, 2023, Moscow Police Detective Mowry began work on Google warrants. He obtained Google Warrant 1 on January 3rd. A search warrant for all data available in the Google account in connection with the email brianchristopher1994@gmail.com. Plus 2 phone numbers and an IMEI number. On January 25th, Mowry obtained a Google Warrant 2, a search warrant for all data available in a Google account in connection with I don't even know what the fuck that is. YEWSR INEIGHM@gmail.com. UseRhinum@gmail.com. Exhibit B. No specific nexus is mentioned in the second warrant for the new email account other than it was identified. On February 24th, Mowry obtained Google Warrant 3, seeking all data in relation to Mr. Kohberger. No reference is made in the affidavit to a nexus between Kohberger and BK5781@gmail.com. Google Warrant 3 adds the email account bk5781@desales.edu without explanation. Well, I'll tell you why it's probably there. So they probably compared that, okay, this is Kohberger because he has bk5781@gmail, and then he also had that when he was at DeSales. So they're obviously saying he had the same username at DeSales. The warrants have no limiting language in the search and no justification for duplication. Oh, Jesus. Google Warrant 3 return, signed by Payne March 14th, 2023, references a warrant return only for the wrong email. Brian Christopher at gmail.com instead of Brian Christopher 1994 at gmail.com. I don't know if they meant to leave out the R in Christopher here. I don't know. Oops. Send Brian Christopher an email, please. Okay. The receipt and inventory, also signed by Payne, references Brian Christopher at gmail.com. And use Serenum at gmail.com. But the return or the receipt of the inventory report nothing about bk5781@desales.edu. Oh, yeah. Outside looking and inside looking. Hi, Aunt Nene. Hey, Tiffany Crockett and Canadian Nana. This is particularly noteworthy because email communication between Mowry and Google on January 4th, 2022, referenced Google not producing data on non-personal accounts, i.e. desales.edu. Mowry indicates, quote, they, DeSales, are going to be able to help. They, DeSales, are going to be able to help us with their end of the process. So that should get taken care of. End quote. Yet, BK5781@desales.edu found its way into the Google Warrant 3 without any nexus or explanation on February 24, 2022. The information in the warrants was cut and pasted from an affidavit originally bearing the signature of Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker. At other times, Corporal Payne, and now Mowry. The Google-specific information in Google Warrant 1 referenced the United States and government, as well as the search of a phone for a single decedent, i.e., looking for the location of a decedent, indicating it was cut and pasted without edits. Google Warrants 2 and 3 remove the United States language, reference to the government, and the single decedent language. The basic facts Mowry used to support the searches were listed in Exhibit B. 1. Details about Google as a company and what it stores based on Mowry's personal knowledge. A request for any accounts associated with Kohberger for any time periods. Oh my gosh, listen to this. Kohberger was observed entering a CVS in Pennsylvania on December 16th, 2022. And his email account, Brian Christopher, 1994, and phone number was somehow obtained by law enforcement. So he went to a CVS. So, okay, wait a minute. The 16th. So him and his dad were pulled over on December 15th, right? When they were driving. And on the 16th, he went to CVS in Pennsylvania. For Google Warrant 2, January 24th, a new email is referenced as having been found in the Google Warrant 1 data return. Username at Gmail. I want to Google this so bad. I'm sure it's scrubbed, isn't it? Nothing came up. Just something on Reddit about this case. About this filing, actually. For Google Warrant 3, or wait, hold on. Also added was, quote, a high probability a VPN was identified in Google return on 1/3. For Google Warrant 3, a new email, BK5781 at DeSales, is incorporated into the third warrant without explanation. Then they have the argument. It's all about the Fourth Amendment. All of these, because they're saying that all of it was unconstitutional. The warrant for Mr. Kohberger's Google accounts were unconstitutionally overbroad. Law enforcement had the ability to be more specific, both as to the contents and category of the digital files it sought, and chose not to be specific because what it wanted and what it got was a general warrant. Therefore, everything found in the search of the Google accounts must be suppressed. Next one, pen trap trace device, which goes what with the locations, right? So this is fighting the AT&T search and tracing of his phone usage. On December 23rd, 2023, Corporal Payne requested a warrant to search the contents of Mr. Kohberger's AT&T account for information regarding his phone's whereabouts between November 12th and November 14th. Hey, Kels. 7 months. It's 7. Every month we're celebrating, girl. Thank you for your support and being here. Stall Tactics 101, she says. We don't have crosswalks, jammers. We should ask Granny if they have crosswalks in PA. As well as messages and phone calls during that period. However, the affidavit went far beyond that range. After the warrant was granted, law enforcement received information from AT&T. This new information is included in the affidavit for a new warrant sought for both account information as well as a pen trap for Mr. Kohberger's phone. The exhibit affidavit was, like the previous warrant, signed by Corporal Payne. The basic facts Corporal Payne used to support the search was essentially the same, but with the following added. Cell tower records did not show Mr. Kohberger was in Moscow at the time of the murders. The new information received from the previous warrant, according to FBI special agents, showed that on November 13th at 2:42 a.m., Kohberger's phone was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to his apartment in Pullman. They support the idea he left his apartment, went south. They supported the phone being off. They support at 4:48 that the phone is south of Moscow near Blaine. The phone utilizes resources that make their way back to Pullman, coinciding with a white Elantra seen on some surveillance there. A similar data showing occurs at 9 a.m. with a trip to Moscow returning at 9:32. Here at stake are records of a telephone account. The records the state sought included identifying information about account owner and their devices, device purchase information, email addresses, call detail, cell site information, historical location information, cloud data, and timing advance reports. So basically everything that you could get, they want thrown out. Yep. So everything that was on the warrant that permitted them to place a trace on his phone, he wants thrown out. Next one, person in Idaho. So the search on Brian Kohberger's person is what this is about. Brian Kohberger, by and through his attorneys of record, hereby submit the following memorandum in support of his contemporaneously filed motion for an order suppressing all evidence gathered by law enforcement as a result of the search of Mr. Kohberger's person in the Latah County Jail. They want it all out, Titanium. What's up, Titanium? Just throw it all out. Hey, BZ. Island. Due to the haphazard way in which law enforcement has kept and disclosed records in this matter. Oh, this is all repetitive right here. All about the SWAT. So then we go through the argument. Let's see here. Yeah, same verbiage. And then the person in PA, probably the same thing. But we're going to read each one. So this is about his search on his person in Pennsylvania. So they're wanting both thrown out. This one's only 8 pages. Mr. Kohberger requests this court suppress all evidence obtained by police via the warrant that permitted them to search his person. So would that include the DNA swab? That would include the DNA swab. You are not my equal. You are evil. Don't fuck with us. If anybody can find the Kohberger rap on my channel, I'll play it. The white Hyundai. So he wants his car thrown out. File a motion for an order suppressing all evidence gathered by law enforcement as a result of the entry into and search of Mr. Kohberger's vehicle. They want the trash out too. Oh, the trash, yeah. Mr. Kohberger has argued in a... Okay, I already read that part about the genetic genealogy, but listen to this part. Without IgG, there can be no case, no DNA taken. Right here. The state cannot make this showing. Without IgG, there is no case, no request for his phone records, surveillance of his parents' home, no DNA taken from the garbage out front. And then the conclusion is that he wants to suppress all evidence obtained by police via the warrant that permitted them to search his car. So much. Okay, so statements. Statements made at 119 Lambsden, which is his parents' house. Suppress all evidence gathered by law enforcement as a result of the entry into and search of Kohberger's parents' home at 199 Lambsden Drive, including statements made after his arrest. This is like a Sean move. Like, I regret everything I did. Can we just throw it all out and start over? I'm missing pretty important info on the doc. But the basis is all the same. Need some Z's. He's saying that all of this, and we've read through all of these when they got them returned, he's saying that everything that they've asked for is not legitimate because of the genetic genealogy. I mean, I really don't want to read through all of the case law. CVS is where Richard Allen worked. Just FYI. He wants the change they took from the car. You give Ann an A for effort. I mean, it's virtually impossible to read through all of this, but the whole basis is the same. All information in the affidavit was gathered because of law enforcement's unconstitutional use of genetic genealogy. And if you go back, do you guys remember when we covered the genealogy lady and the FBI came to her door? I know. Skip the case law. I wait for like lawyer to explain the case law to me. Their property was in a gated community with a trash ordinance. It was private property according to the doc. Yeah, that doesn't matter when they have a search warrant, though. That's why they have to get search warrants, right? I just think that the basis on every one is going to be basically the same. The facts in this, let's see. The facts are all pretty much the same. But you got his digits, ladies. 509-592-8458. You can leave him messages. Okay, here we go. Here's some details on the raid. Pennsylvania agents seized garbage at Mr. Kohberger's parents' residence and found DNA it determined was likely the father of the suspect, DNA found on the sheath. At 2:43 p.m. on December 29th, the criminal complaint and probable cause order were filed in this matter. At 10 p.m., Pennsylvania SWAT began preparations. Despite weeks of constant surveillance, FBI surveillance, Pennsylvania law enforcement did their own surveillance. And despite the fact that weeks of constant FBI surveillance showed that Mr. Kohberger was unarmed and tended to go for runs around his parents' neighborhood, police decided that in the dead of night within his parents' home was the best way to make an arrest. On December 30th, 2022, at 1:14 a.m., Pennsylvania SWAT raided Mr. Kohberger's parents' home. During the raid, law enforcement broke the front door of the home, shattered the sliding glass door of the basement, held the entire family at gunpoint, and seized Mr. Kohberger. Mr. Kohberger made statements to his arresting officers. He was transported to a police station in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and made statements during transport. At the station, Mr. Kohberger was processed, during which police collected information about his person. Finally, during interrogation, before requesting an attorney, Mr. Kohberger made statements to interrogators from the Idaho State Police and Moscow Police Department. Oh my God, why would he do that? What was he thinking? What did he say?
Bing bang.
Sadly, they don't get a new house. Sadly. But he talked to interrogators. He made statements at the house. He made statements in the vehicle. And he made statements to interrogators before asking for a lawyer. At 4 a.m. on December 30th, Pennsylvania State Police filed a criminal complaint against Kohberger. That's crazy. We don't know the statements yet. We don't know, but he wants them thrown out. Conclusion. Mr. Kohberger requests this court suppress all evidence obtained by police via the warrant that permitted them to search his parents' home. As explained above, law enforcement failed to knock and announce before raiding, and the warrant lacked probable cause as written, given its heavy reliance on conclusions reached by law enforcement without the details necessary for the magistrate to draw its own conclusions. Any statements made by Kohberger are the fruit of the poisonous tree of the illegal arrest. Some statements may also be excludable under Miranda. If they didn't record his statements, can they be admitted? I'm sure they recorded it all. I want to watch these interrogations. Well, either that island or he was playing games. Because if you remember, he said, was anybody else arrested? And I feel like he said that was his first thing that was leaked to the public, was that he said that immediately after his arrest. And that was the first thing that put doubt in a lot of people's minds, is that he made that statement, that he didn't act alone, that he couldn't have done this alone because he asked, who was anybody else arrested? What do you mean PA doesn't have body cam at all? Surely they would have recorded the SWAT. I don't know about that. I'm sure they recorded the interrogation. You would ask that if you were innocent, if they arrested anyone else? I think he's being a smartass and playing games. Why would you ask that if you were innocent? Is anybody else arrested? Or just me? Did you just catch me? I think he was trying to frame Kopaka. I think so too, Patty. Hang on. Does PA police wear body camera? I thought everybody did. Yes. All patrol troopers assigned to Troop K covering PA, Montgomery, and Delaware counties are now outfitted with body cameras, but that was 2024. Yeah, they're right. In 2023, there was no. Look at August 7th, 2023. State police in Pennsylvania announced Monday that troopers across the Commonwealth will begin wearing body-worn camera. They do now, but they didn't have it then. It was Indiana State Police. Kopaka, I think he died the 15th. While they were driving. While him and his dad were driving. So that's that's all of them. The statements made by Brian himself. And then up here, we're going to look at this one. On the 13th, before the Franks hearing was filed, was one other filing. And this is a motion to leave. Motion for leave. So what this is the judge, and this is another smart-ass move in my opinion. The deadline was November 14th. The new judge had set this deadline of November 14th for them to have gone and set the they set the discovery motions deadlines of November 14th. They filed this November 13th and said that they have not finished a full review of the vast amount of discovery in this case and they asked for more time or a hearing. So we have the Kohbergers saying, oh, they're not getting their discovery. They're not getting all their discovery. Well, here they're saying they've gotten so much they haven't even finished fucking looking at it. So he filed this the day before the deadline. And I love our new judge because our judge came in hot with a fucking denial. Listen to this. The judge says, before the court is defendant's naked motion to leave, November 13th, in which he seeks relief from the discovery motion's deadline of November the 14th, as set forth in the governing scheduling order. Defendant asserts his counsel and investigators are still reviewing, quote, the vast amount of discovery in this case, end quote. And therefore, he needs additional time to file motions related to discovery. Motions to enlarge a deadline filed on the eve of the deadline are not well taken. The state's discovery deadline was September 6th. Defendant could have ascertained far sooner whether the discovery motion's deadline would pose a difficulty and brought it to the court's attention. Further and importantly, defendant has not demonstrated with his filing good cause to enlarge the deadline. He has not set forth what efforts have been made to review the discovery, what portion of the discovery has not yet been reviewed, why it has not been reviewed, or how long it will take to complete such review. Consequently, this motion is denied.
Bing bang.
Denied. And I love it. I love it because do you know what? When this kind of shit happened with Judge would grant the extension. He would be like, okay. Like, if you go back to this motion, like he said, they're just like, this is the Ann Taylor. Look at, they think this is all they have to say. Defense counsel and investigators have not had finished a full review of the vast amount of discovery, but we will continue to do so. And the judge said, not today, Satan. Not today. So let's boil this down a little bit. Okay? I'm going to take you back in time to Mr. Bundy. And this is an awesome video. This is actually from Carol Durant. She escaped Bundy. She escaped Bundy and got away. And this is on her YouTube. She just posted this 7 days ago. I would love to watch the whole thing with y'all, but I guess we can. It's walking through basically. Hang on. We're going to start here. Because Carol Boone. Did you know his wife was Carol Boone? I was like, oh, I wonder if she's related to Sarah. Okay, here. We're gonna just start this right here.
In the first of two escapes while awaiting trial.
This is all about his trial, basically. So there's some uncanny things. Let's watch.
He would surface again as a renter in this house in Tallahassee, Florida, 4 blocks from the campus of Florida State University, where, in January 1978, a Mad Dog killer entered the Chi Omega sorority and smashed the skulls of 2 co-eds and attempted to kill 2 other women there, and struck at another house 5 blocks away. Credit card receipts and an eyewitness would place him in nearby Lake City, where the youngest victim, 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, disappeared near her junior high school, her decomposed body to be found months later in an old hog shed. Ted Bundy was stopped for erratic driving in Pensacola in a stolen VW Bug and arrested after trying to make a break from the cop.
course, after several minutes of fighting, I did manage to subdue him by striking him with my revolver.
He refused to tell us. Authorities who he was, but it wasn't hard. Ted Bundy was on the FBI's list of the 10 most wanted. It made national headlines, and the sheriff would notify Bundy of murder charges in front of glaring TV lights.
Or with a premeditated design or intent.
Sorry, my dog was barking, so I muted. So what's fascinating to me about this is that they're reading his indictment. I didn't say Brian was fleeing police. I didn't say that. I'll show you when I think the things coincide. I'm fascinated with Ted Bundy's case overall. So, but anyways, I will tell you the things that I think kind of maybe coincide. But this whole thing fascinates me, so I walk through it. They're reading the indictment. And he's standing there, uncuffed. It's crazy. Oh, yeah, he does resemble him. Big time, ministry. Okay.
To effect the death of said Lisa Levy.
My chance to talk to the press.
Contrary to section 78204 Florida statute.
I'll plead not guilty right now.
And your grand...
We, the jury, find the defendant, Theodore Robert Bundy, guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 1 of the indictment.
It's like...
We know what happened. Bundy, insisting on playing lawyer, was found guilty of the Chi Omega murders and sentenced to death in the electric chair. During court, he staged his own wedding ceremony with longtime supporter Carol Boone.
Will you marry me?
Carol Boone.
And I do hereby marry you. Thank you.
Ted Bundy's place in history was now assured. 3 books would go back over the story, 2 of them by local authors. The Stranger
Thank you,
Beside
Creole.
Me by detective writer Ann Rule, who had been Bundy's friend and co-worker at a local crisis clinic. The Deliberate Stranger
Thank
by
you
Richard
so
Larson,
much.
a reporter for the Seattle Times, whose work was adapted to a network television movie.
Oh, God, the music from this movie.
My name is Richard Larson. You'll meet
Creepy.
me soon at the beginning of our story, our nightmare that began in Seattle in 1974.
And this book, in which Bundy describes in his own words what a serial killer might think and do. Wednesday morning at 4:30 Seattle time, the only living witness is scheduled to die for what he did do. John Sandifer, King 5 News.
Okay, wait for it.
1979, a Florida jury found Bundy guilty of the murder of 3 young women. Shortly thereafter, he was sentenced to die.
This court has hereby imposed the death penalty upon Theodore Robert Bundy.
Now, 7 years later, Bundy is still alive. He has played the appeals process like a fine violin, hitting all the notes at just the right time to ensure that the executioner must wait as long as possible. His guaranteed automatic first appeal to the United States Supreme Court took 3 years. When he lost there, he began a series of challenges in state and federal court. He has gone through 14 attorneys, but now claims he received ineffective legal counsel. Often he served as his own counsel, and now claims that there was no legitimate effort to decide his mental competence. The legal record of his case is now more than 10,000 pages long. Those who complain that it would cost too much to keep Bundy alive might compare what it has cost to try to put him to death.
Interesting, huh? 10,000 page docket. Appeal after appeal after appeal.
His case worked its way back up to the United States Supreme Court again, where it was rejected on May 5th. If the 11th Circuit turns him down after this latest lease on life, he may get a 3rd trip to the High Court. Many law students only dream of going before the Supreme Court. Ted Bundy may make a career of it.
14 attorneys. I was like, what? See, I thought he represented himself with maybe a lawyer assisting. 14 attorneys. He beat Sarah Boone. I would love to know more about those 14 attorneys he went through, why they were withdrawn. Oh, it's similar. The delay tactics are definitely similar. And I can guarantee you that when Brian is convicted, if he's convicted, he will do the same shit. He is going to torment until he can't torment anymore. You mark my words. You mark my words. Someone who murders 4 innocent college students wanted to torment. And with every delay, he continues to torment. That's my opinion.
In Seattle, Jack Hammond, King 5 News.
Theodore Robert Bundy is a man known by law enforcement officials throughout the western United States. He is thought to be connected with a series of assaults and murders in 3 western states. And for the past year, he has become well known in Tallahassee, Florida. Bundy is charged with 2 counts of murder in Tallahassee and 3 counts of attempted murder, all stemming from the morning of January 15th, 1978, when 4 women...
Okay, Z's. When do you see anybody going to the Supreme Court with appeals? How often? How often? Not very.
...were attacked while they slept in this sorority house near the Florida State University campus in Tallahassee. Only 2 survived. That same morning, the same killer allegedly...
2 survived. Oh, I wonder if they were accused of doing it because they survived. Oh, God forbid. God forbid.
Entered this house only 5 blocks away, severely but not fatally beating the woman who lived here. A lack of physical evidence in both crimes had law enforcement officials stymied. But a month later, Theodore Bundy was stopped by Pensacola police on suspicion of auto theft. The hunch proved correct. Bundy was driving a car stolen from Tallahassee, and he was returned to the Leon County Jail under theft charges. In addition to auto theft, investigators discovered Bundy had in his possession over 150 stolen credit cards.
Oh, didn't Brian Kohberger have a bunch of cards as well?
But their prime suspicion was that Bundy was connected somehow with the murders on January 15th. Bundy came to Tallahassee on January 7th, 1978, an escapee from a Colorado jail awaiting appeal on kidnapping charges. Under an assumed name, he rented an apartment at this boarding house near the FSU campus. During the next month, police alleged that Bundy supported himself by stealing wallets containing credit cards and small amounts of cash. He also allegedly stole 5 cars, one of which led to his Pensacola arrest. Although he was a prime suspect in the murder case, there was little evidence to connect Bundy with the crimes. After holding Bundy for 4 months, the Leon County grand jury indicted him on July 25th for the assaults and murders. The arrests took place under the eye of television cameras, which has been just one of a series of controversial aspects of the case. Bundy alleges that the manner in which he was arrested, along with extensive press coverage of this case, has jeopardized his ability to receive a fair trial.
Oh, that doesn't sound familiar. That doesn't sound familiar at all. Oh, the press coverage of this case. Oh no, there's no fucking similarities. We just had fucking pie graphs of how many times Brian Kohberger was fucking Googled, right? They were keeping track of the stats of how he was trending on social media. This is crazy. And he looks like him right there looking down. Crazy.
Bundy also requested the legal counsel of Atlanta attorney Millard Farmer, who was denied entry to the case because of a Georgia contempt of court citation. Bundy has relied heavily as a result on his own year of law school to prepare many of the motions filed in this complex case. Since Millard Farmer's denial to represent Bundy, the Public Defender's Office has been active in preparing Bundy's defense.
Oh, here's another similarity. Thank you for reminding me, Miss Diana. The Wah State Park, where Brian was stargazing as his alibi, was where Ted Bundy dumped one of his victims. So, yes, there are tons of similarities between these two killers, in my opinion.
The trial is scheduled to begin on June 11th. But whether it will take place in Tallahassee is one of the motions to be heard this week in pretrial hearings in Florida's capital city, as Circuit Judge Edward Cowart tries to determine if Theodore Bundy is too famous a suspect for a fair trial in Tallahassee, Florida.
At this point, because of the recent ruling of the Florida Supreme Court, a certain novelty about looking directly into a courtroom. And it's like as if a curtain had been pulled back, and for the first time the public feels it's gazing at something that it had hitherto been barred from, although that is certainly not the case. Unfortunately, this novelty has not worn off.
Exactly, Muddy Paws. That's what I just said. Wah State Park.
So saying, Theodore Bundy requested that Judge Edward Cowart bar all electronic media from the courtroom during the pretrial hearings, which started today. Cowart denied the motion, saying he didn't see the fundamental fairness or necessity of such an action. He also refused to disqualify himself as the judge in this case.
Okay.
An attempt to have
so there's another game. He wanted the judge to recuse himself.
Public kept from hearings on several more defense motions in the pretrial hearings, which started today. Cowart denied the motion, saying he didn't see the fundamental fairness or necessity of such an action. He also refused to disqualify himself as the judge in this case. An attempt to have the public kept from hearings on several more defense motions was the subject of a closed afternoon meeting between Cowart and the defense, the prosecution, and counsel for the media. No decision was made. Hearings on other defense motions resume tomorrow, with the request for a change of venue scheduled to be heard next week.
Theodore Robert Bundy, you are charged, indictment, 2 counts burglary and 2 counts murder in the first degree, 3 counts attempted murder in the first degree. Theodore Robert Bundy, on the 15th day of January, 1978, in Leon County, Florida, did then and there unlawfully kill a human being, to wit, Margaret Bowman, by strangling and or beating her. Theodore Robert Bundy, on the 15th day of January, 1978, in Leon County, Florida, did then and there unlawfully kill a human being, to wit, Lisa Levy, by strangling and or beating her, and said killing was perpetrated by said Theodore Robert Bundy from or with a premeditated design or intent to effect the death of said Lisa Levy.
My chance to talk to the press.
Contrary to Section 78204 Florida statute.
I'll plead not guilty right now.
And your grand jurors being present in said court further gives the court to be impeached on his home.
That was Ted Bundy nearly a year ago. Today, he was taken by sheriff's motorcade from Florida's Leon County Jail to begin what may be 2 weeks of pretrial hearings in preparation for the June 11th murder trial. Bundy's had, in addition to a year of law school at the University of Utah, a year in jail here to prepare his defense. And he's done.
Yes, he did. That's his alibi. He was not in Moscow. He was driving around looking at the stars. I don't know why y'all are ignoring his own filing. Oh, I know Ted Bundy was a nuisance, and so was Brian Kohberger.
Done his homework. Today, dressed more like an attorney than a defendant and carrying an armload of legal papers, he began arguing that case before Judge Edward Cowart. First, the defense requested that Cowart disqualify himself. The judge refused. Then Bundy rose himself to argue. He no longer spoke like the Ted Bundy of a year ago, who constantly demanded access to the media. Today, he asked that cameras and microphones be barred from the courtroom.
See, he wanted the press there. Then he says, no, it's against my constitutional rights. I don't want the microphones here.
Have trouble articulating to the court constant, what you might call it, the omnipresent distractions, considering how we're going to conduct these hearings in front of the eye of the camera. How do we dress? How do we talk? Do I talk? Whether I wear a gray suit or a blue suit.
Then the defense went one step further, asking the judge to bar all media and the public from pretrial hearings on suppression of evidence. Some of the evidence the defense wants...
He didn't go pro se. He went through 14 attorneys, Vix. 14 attorneys. Mostly he represented himself, but not entirely.
Kicked out? Bundy's criminal background in the West. and testimony which could help put him here.
See, it's the same thing. He wants all the shit thrown out. It's the same.
Bundy's criminal background in the West, and testimony which could help put him here. The sorority house where the murders were committed. The judge was not terribly receptive.
We're conducting the public's business, gentlemen.
Love this
and
judge.
We're going to conduct it in the sunshine, as we've said in Florida.
We're going to conduct that business in the sunshine, Mr. Bundy. Did you guys hear that? What he wanted thrown out? Suppression of evidence. Bar the media.
Or a blue suit.
Then the defense went one step further, asking the judge to bar all media and the public from pretrial hearings on suppression of evidence. Some of the evidence the defense wants kicked out: Bundy's criminal background in the West, and testimony which could help put him here. The sorority house where the murders were committed. The judge was not terribly receptive.
Hey, Beans.
We're conducting the public's business, gentlemen, and we're going to conduct it in the sunshine, as we've said in Florida.
Late this afternoon, Coward found a solution which should...
No, this isn't normally how cases go. No. Keep an eye on Stephen Stern's case. See if it's a shit show like this, like Brian Kohberger's. Just wait and see. Stephen Stern's is a capital case here in Florida. Very serious. Child crime. It will not go down like this. I promise you.
Make everyone happy. He said he'd pick a jury June 11th, sequester...
The reason why all this madness is happening is because the defendant himself is requesting it. If his attorneys don't do what he asks, that's grounds for his appeal. And if it's reasonable requests, they have to do it. Or it can be grounds for an appeal. Hashtag games. Hashtag legal games.
Only then hear the suppression motions. That way, Bundy's assured the jury won't be tainted by evidence which may later be declared inadmissible.
So see what the judge did? The judge was like, okay, Bundy, I see what you're trying to do. Listen. Listen close.
Late this afternoon, Coward found a solution which should make everyone happy. He said he'd pick a jury June 11th, sequester it, and only then hear the suppression motions. That way, Bundy's assured the jury won't be tainted by evidence which may later be declared inadmissible. And it will also...
So he says, we'll pick a jury, we'll sequester the jury, and then we'll talk about the evidence.
...take away any reason for excluding the press and public. Ken Connaughton, Newswatch 2, Tallahassee.
The signal came early. Ted Bundy was dead.
Okay, this goes into, I think, now the execution. Yeah, this is all the execution stuff. This is a really interesting video, though. If you guys want to go watch it, I'll give you the... Let me open this up. I'll give you guys the link. But I find Bundy's case and Kohberger's to have a lot of parallels, if you will. And Carol Durant has a lot of really good old clips on her YouTube. And I love watching the old footage from that. So there is Carol Durant's video right there. No, he wasn't Island, was he? Well, here's potato. People support BK. People supporting BK also speculate and don't go by the facts. Like the fact they didn't need the DNA to get to BK. His vehicle was registered with WSU and was seen on cams. Ministry. I mean, this is going to be a debated case. It's funny. No one debates Ted Bundy's innocence or guilt. They sure don't, do they? I know it's crazy, Patty, but then you got to think about it. Like, if Brian Kohberger is sitting there saying all of these things to his attorneys and they don't file it and they just ignore him, he can say he didn't get a fair defense. It was Old Sparky. Yeah. Do you guys want to see that part? Do you want to see the execution stuff? I know it's a very sticky subject for people, but we can watch that part if you want. Unbiased jury is possible. Absolutely, especially in Boise. I'm glad they moved it. Do you guys think the trial should have been moved? Put a 1 if you agree with the trial for Brian being moved to Ada County. Cheryl Butler, BK and Ted Bundy are nothing alike. That's your opinion. I see a lot of similarities. Not just the park where Ted Bundy dumped a victim. Brian Kohberger claims he was there stargazing. Tennille says 1. Yeah, I'm glad it was moved. I think whether you agree if he did it or not, I think that everybody pretty much was happy that it was moved. Yeah, it's a good thing. And a bigger jury pool. Yeah, 1 all day. Kel says mainly because I like the new judge. I love the new judge. Cheryl, why you got to argue? I just said that's your opinion. I see tons of parallels. And you say so. So it's a parallel. Good evening, Just Teresa. Need some Z's. I need to see the evidence before I say it's flawed. I don't know how you can say the evidence they have is flawed if you haven't seen it yet. All right, you guys. Do you want to watch it? Okay. What do you think of this? What do you think of this already? We're a more sensitive culture now. What do you think of that? Oh, yeah. Judge sucked. He's retiring. He's done. Ramblin' Red Rose. Hey. What do you guys think of this? This chanting, hey, goodbye. If cats had thumbs, what that university did with the house was despicable. I agree. I don't agree with that either, but that doesn't make Brian Kohberger innocent. Just because University of Idaho chose to tear the crime scene down doesn't make him innocent. Right? Okay, here we go.
Yeah! Hundreds of onlookers were in a festive mood. Inside the prison, the execution went off.
I wouldn't even call them protesters. A festive mood? There's nothing festive, in my opinion. This is my thoughts. This event is not festive.
Hey, goodbye. Yeah! Hundreds of onlookers were in a festive mood.
Stephanie.
Inside the prison, the execution went off without a hitch. Bundy's familiar good looks and allure replaced by an impish man with a shaved head. He smiled at prosecutor Jerry Blair as he sat in the chair.
I returned his greeting, whatever it was, but I tried to return it in the same spirit in which it was given, and Bundy appeared to be sincere.
There was no last meal, no confessions, and no regrets. Only a goodbye to family and friends.
Perhaps had hoped for a confession or more openness, but I'm not surprised that he didn't do it.
Among the witnesses, the man who discovered the ravaged dead body of victim Kimberly Leach 11 years ago.
The pain that he went through at death most likely was nothing like what she had went through, but it gave me a lot of satisfaction to know that justice had finally been done.
With the death, many questions remain, but there is one certainty.
Theodore Bundy will never inflict pain on anybody else.
For the man who murdered dozens of women, the irony of the final act of justice is that it may have been carried out by a female executioner, hidden from Bundy and others by a black hood. At Florida State Prison, I'm Mike Vasalinda for NBC News.
The executioner wears a black hood? Ooh, that's creepy. That's creepy. Look at that old Mustang. Look at that old Mustang. They're cheering at the freaking hearse.
Detectives who have come to the small community of Stark believe it's part of Bundy's last-minute manipulations to try and save his own hide from the executioner. Bundy has called off the news conference before reporters scheduled for Monday, but that's an hour-by-hour decision. And many believe that Bundy has confessed to crimes in the Northwest only to whet the appetite of detectives, hoping for more if he only had a little more time. That's the last thing the people of Florida want to give him, is time. In Lake City, where the gravestone of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach reminds them of 3 grisly murders here, there is no sentiment for Ted Bundy.
There's got to come to an end. It's got to be finished sooner or later. I mean, it's been 10 years.
The majority of the people here in Lake City would like to go ahead and see him, the sentence carried out.
This is the prosecutor who handled the Leach case, for which Bundy is scheduled to die.
Mr. Bundy's been on death row for between 9 and 10 years. He's had ample opportunity to tell law enforcement authorities what they needed to hear. He has not availed himself of that opportunity, and I think his attempt to do it at this point in time is nothing more than a cynical attempt to frustrate the carrying out of the lawful sentence here and to buy some time for him.
In Jacksonville, radio stations are playing
manipulation, stall tactics,
a Bundy medley, which includes the song "Come On Baby Light My Fire," and elsewhere there have been demonstrations against any delay in the execution. Meantime, at the prison, Bundy has admitted 5 more murders to a Colorado detective, 2 to an Idaho detective, in addition to the 11 mentioned in Washington, and has kept a Utah investigator cooling his heels, waiting to ask Bundy some more questions.
It's in the Salt Lake City area. We have 5 cases, 2 of which are confirmed homicides, and 3 young girls that were missing during the time period 1974 and 1975.
And here in Stark, where there is a northwest-like rain and windstorm brewing, it's really been a day of rest. And except for increasing numbers of reporters drifting into town for Tuesday's execution, you really wouldn't know anything out of the ordinary was happening. In Stark, John Sandifer, King 5 News. The weather here in Stark, Florida has been cold, rainy, and windy, very much like a northwest winter of the type Ted Bundy would be familiar with. 2 years ago, when we were here for an execution that didn't happen, these reader boards called for his death. This year, they are conspicuously absent, and the mood in the town is very somber. But if the sentiment is...
TC, I have to remind you that not all their evidence is presented in an affidavit. Right. Listen to Micro Kimmy.
It's not apparent in Stark, it is elsewhere, mostly in Lake City, where a gravestone reminds residents of the murder of a 12-year-old schoolgirl who would have been 23 this year. That long wait for the killer to pay is why prosecutors and public want no further delays. They want Bundy to die.
Bundy has raised every issue, it seems to me, that he could have raised, that he should have raised, or that he ever could raise.
At the Florida State Prison, behind closed doors and high security, Ted Bundy is desperately trying to save himself by talking to detectives and offering even more information if he can be allowed the time. Florida won't give it to him.
So he was manipulating them until the day of his death, saying, "Oh, I'll tell you more if you delay my execution." A manipulator till the end. And no, I don't see similarities in their personalities as far as socially. No, I do not. I think Brian Kohberger tried to be charismatic. I think Brian Kohberger tried to be a social butterfly. I think he wanted those things. And for whatever reason inside him, whatever was going on with his visual snow or whatever the hell he had, the demons, the drugs, whatever.
And Bundy is being cagey. He has told some detectives of murders in Washington, Colorado, and 2 previously unknown crimes in Idaho, but he has left at least 1 detective hanging.
Bundy's attorney telephoned me at approximately 11 o'clock last night and indicated that Mr. Bundy had a change of heart and did not wish to talk to me today.
Seattle Detective Robert Keppel, who heard a tearful Ted tell of 11 Washington state murders, is staying close to the prison death row just in case there is more. In Stark, Florida, John Sandifer, King 5 News. In Stark, Florida, John Sandifer for NBC News. In Stark, Florida, John Sandifer for News Center 7. In Stark, Florida, John Sandifer for News 8.
I guess John Sandifer was reporting for several news stations, eh?
Ted Bundy's last day at the prison broke bright and sunny. He had been moved to within 30 feet of the execution chamber. Scores of reporters from all over the nation heard how his final hours and minutes will go during a briefing in which they also spelled out who some of his final visitors will be.
I can tell you that right at this time, Dr. Dorothy Lewis, a psychiatrist, and some of the attorneys are meeting with Bundy.
Mention of a psychiatrist.
TC, if you're trying to, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to put me down? I didn't even cover the Adelson case. I know nothing about that old bat and her son. No, I didn't cover it. I don't care about him. So why even bringing that up? You're looking for an argument, girl. Why you do that? Why can't you just discuss and accept other people have different opinions than you? If you want an echo chamber, there's plenty of channels that are echo chambers. And P.S., Cheryl, we don't roll like gray pubes over here. We're not rude to our viewers.
Fueled speculation whether a diagnosis that Bundy is now insane will force the governor to delay the execution while Bundy is examined by a psychiatric panel. But one knowledgeable reporter says the chances of this psychiatrist doing that are almost nil.
Dorothy Lewis is one of the most respected psychiatrists in her field, which is criminal. She studies the psychiatry of death row inmates. She's a Yale professor. She's nationally known, and I think she has too large a reputation at stake to come in and say something that you didn't really believe.
Oh, I got a gray pubes for us when we end.
The issue of Bundy's mental state was paramount. Speculation that Bundy would claim he is now insane was fueled by announcement of his first visitors today.
I can tell you that right at this time, Dr. Dorothy Lewis, a psychiatrist, and some of the attorneys are meeting with Bundy. That will continue probably through the noon hour today.
Under Florida law, a claim that Bundy is now insane would set off a mandatory psychiatric review that could delay the execution. But many think that is very unlikely due to the standards for insanity under the law.
They would have to claim that Ted Bundy doesn't know where he is, he doesn't know what's going to happen to him tomorrow morning, and he doesn't know why it's going to happen. Given the confessions that he's been giving, the obvious fear that he has of what's coming up, I don't see how they could make that claim.
Seattle detective Robert Keppel, who is among the investigators who received murder confessions from Bundy, does not believe mental illness is his problem.
No, not at all. Not according to the law, he's not.
But not earlier. As early as 3 a.m., it was building to a celebration as hundreds came to witness whatever could be seen of the execution. Their contempt was for Bundy, but also for...
Did you see that shirt? It said Toast Ted.
The system. What would you think if he got a last-minute stay?
Very angry and very upset with our judicial system.
I think that the judicial system in our society has been made a fool of enough.
With the breaking of a pink dawn, Ted Bundy was led 30 feet into the death chamber and without great fanfare put to death. A reporter waved from outside death row to confirm that fact.
Wait, Dorothy Lewis, is that the one that testified at Letitia? Wait, hold on. Is that the same lady? She was with Bundy right before he died. Island Thrift, you need to find that Fry Ted shirt in your thrifties. Yes, Dorothy Lewis was the nut in the Stout trial. Oh my God. The one that her son was smoking dope and he came in smelling like weed. Wow. Talk about full circle. What the? You know, just when the world seems so big, it gets a little small. Yeah, the old one. The old lady and her son was there with her. Dorothy Lewis says Ted Bundy gave her a kiss. Oh, Lord. You're kidding. We need to find an interview with this lady. Hold up. Hold up. Let's see if we can find her name. Okay, what's her name again? Dorothy Lewis. Ted Bundy. Oh, man. Here she is. She was in this HBO thing. Crazy, not insane. I kissed Ted Bundy.
For 2 days, we learned who Dorothy Lewis is. Where, you ask? And Letitia Stout, trial day 18 and 19. And if you're not familiar, she interviewed American serial killer Ted Bundy. That's where I went down a rabbit hole I couldn't get out of, and I came across this statement. Lewis talked often about how much affection she had for several murderers, and the feeling was often mutual. Bundy trusted her so much he even kissed her goodbye hours before his execution, according to the Yale School of Medicine. While Lewis's theories and her affection for the killers she studied were sometimes viewed as controversial, crazy, not insane, celebrates her compassion and curiosity for why people turn bad. When it comes to the root of Bundy's true nature, however, the verdict is still out. In November 2020, Dorothy came out with this statement. Before I walked out of the room, she said he bent down and kissed me on the cheek, and so I kissed him on the cheek and walked out. And when I got home, I was trying to make light of it. You know, there's nothing like, really? I was making this video into a short and it was a little too long, so I had to
kissed Ted Bundy and I liked it. She also said Letitia confessed in a different language, but the letter got lost. Oh, dear God in heaven. Wait, here we go.
I got a question.
That's her. This is her voice.
This is something I wonder about. Supposing it's me, and I'm walking down a dark road. Of course. Let's say I'm walking down a dark road, and it's completely, out in the woods somewhere. There's nobody for miles around. I'm walking down the street. I want to play this first tonight. I'm walking down the street, and their house is there, but everybody's obviously asleep. There's somebody who's in the bushes off to the side of the road, and they're watching me, and they watch me walk all the way down the street. And when I get right to the place where they are behind the bushes, they jump out. And they grab me. And then,
Where are we going with this? Let's keep going.
Please. They jump out and they grab me and they drag me to the bushes. Maybe they caught me over the head, who knows. But anyway, the person starts to rape me. Is there anything that I could do to change the outcome?
The only thing you could do to change the outcome would be to scream and fight like hell to get away.
That's the only thing?
So,
Participation, nothing?
not that I can imagine.
No?
You better fight like hell and hope that you get away. Did you date at all? I was living totally particularly out.
Wow. So she asked. Oh, I know. She Lisa Lee. She wanted to show I got jammers. Listen. She's asking him. She's giving him the scenario. And she's saying, is there anything that could be done? I know she sounds really excited. It's gross. But is there anything that could have been done to change the outcome? Participation. Participation? She's saying if the victim participated, would it change the outcome? He says the only thing would be to scream.
Dating girl women all the time and having just normal, good, positive relationships where I felt very comfortable. That can be very bizarre at times, I think. On the one hand, meet a girl, take her home, and we can sleep together and enjoy each other. And, there might be a body in the closet.
Whoa.
That's pretty bizarre. How do you feel about that?
Wow. That's pretty erotic stuff.
Ew. Oh my God. So he's talking about coming home and having a normal life, but there might be a body in the closet. She says, wow, that's pretty erotic stuff.
And it wasn't it wasn't something to fantasize. It was just something different. He was having a normal relationship. It just happened to be with somebody in the collection. I mean, it just didn't have that time to go for a drive, yeah. Or something.
For a love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the girlfriend's daughter. I don't know why she's in that picture for that clip. Ted Bundy says entity started in 1969 and he had a sexual encounter with his sister. What?
When he was going to be sentenced, he said to the judge,
I'm not asking for mercy, for I find it somewhat absurd to ask for mercy for something I did not do.
And there was one time after he had told me about many of the murders.
This is her?
He came in and he sat down and his demeanor was different. And he said, the person sitting before you never killed anyone. I don't think that he is kidding or pretending that he's innocent. I think that there is a Bundy state where he did not do any of those murders. In fact, he referred to the person who killed, he called that the entity.
Let's say the late winter, early spring of 69 is where we're starting to see this entity begin to reach the point where it was necessary to act out. It takes over the basic consciousness mechanism and more or less dictate what's going to be done. It was unobtrusive at first. It's something that kind of grew on me, that began to visualize and fantasize about more violent things. By the time I realized how powerful it was, it was in big trouble.
That's her.
I had a clue then that he might suffer from a dissociative disorder, but then when I saw the writing and I saw that he did at times seem to become his grandfather, who was a very violent kind of person.
She reminds me a lot of Catherine Ramsland. I feel like they both are obsessed with killers in a disturbing way. Yeah, there I said it. This chick though is beyond. I mean, I don't think Catherine Ramsland isn't this far gone. But man, is this disturbing stuff.
Grandfather, who is a very violent kind of person.
She loves this. Weird.
That's when I got interested. I got a call from his lawyer saying he wanted to meet with me before he was executed. So I did go.
Look that's her back in the day. Look at her. I'm going to get a kiss from Bundy. Oh, man. What the freak?
The attorney, she said, Ted wants to know if you can say that he is incompetent to be executed. And I said, I would be laughed out of town. I just can't do that. And I said, and all the work that we've done to understand people who do these kinds of things.
Vix, we're not here to argue semantics. You know damn well that he hasn't gotten to that point yet. You're just arguing for the sake of arguing, and it's really getting old, girl.
Will not be considered valid if I say something as ridiculous as that.
But he clearly knew he was going to be executed.
Yes.
He knew what an execution meant.
That's right. And he knew what he had done. And I said, besides, the warden has 3 other psychiatrists out there waiting to refute this.
What was his reaction?
He said he could understand that.
Testing.
He gave me permission to tape the conversation.
January 23rd, 1989.
I asked him, why did he ask to see me? And he said,
Dr. Lewis, you're more interested in me in what was going on in my head and how it was developed.
I was not.
Wow, she was enamored. She was enamored and she was flattered that this serial killer wanted to meet with her before his death. And guess what? Catherine Ramsland behaved the same way about BTK. It's effing weird. Missy J, I love your comment. I have felt the same about both of them, and with Ramsland, have even thought that she has encouraged some budding serial killers. Just my opinion. Well, we have her. She actually was one of Brian Kohberger's professors. She was one of his professors. Yes, a psychologist. And look at that smile. Hey, Kaylee, welcome in.
Fascinated by his perversions. I was far more interested in how he got the way he was.
Whatever his she was fascinated by his perversions. Now, I think we all are. I mean, she's kind of just saying it like it is. But damn, lady. She was flattered that he asked her.
Motives for asking.
No. Not this lady. Catherine Ramsland was one of Brian's professors. You guys are confusing me in chat. I don't know.
Me to come to Stark and mine for coming. Our 4.5 hours together on the day before his execution were riveting.
Your sister. Did you ever kind of look at them while they were dressing, bathing? Because that, you said, was a curiosity you had
In my teens. Well, this is something I've never told anyone, and I almost promised myself I never would.
Like kind of toss the tape recorder?
Well, yeah. But they...
When the tape recorder was off, Bundy told me that he had had a sexual encounter with one of his sisters. Later, his mother told me that Bundy had told his sister that she should be careful because there was someone out in the world who was killing women who looked just like her.
Ew. Okay, that's creepy. But yeah, that's the woman who testified for Letitia Stout. And she has this HBO thing called Crazy, Not Insane. But not only did Bundy get married, he also had a child. So Ted Bundy with Dorothy Lewis. Video made by Carol DeRonk. I think that's the one we watched. Or is this a continuance? Hold on.
And he said,
Dr. Lewis, you're more interested in me in what was going on in my head and how it was developed.
Was.
Oh.
Whatever his motives for asking me to come to Stark.
Yeah, that's the same thing we just watched. Okay, let's look at her in Letitia Staux real quick.
Hey, everybody. Dr. G.
Do they show her? Wasn't she like late? Here she is.
Is absurd.
About the time that Gannon was killed.
Yes.
She was psychotic at the time. She was not in touch with reality, and she did not. I don't think she knew the difference between right and wrong. I don't know whether she even knew what she was doing. I would guess, yeah.
And I've read your other reports. In your other reports, you define what insanity is in that particular state,
and you explain in your report why you think someone was legally insane at the time based on the law. Why did you not do that in this case?
You know, I would have to look at the definition.
So one thing to know is juries don't love it when people won't answer questions.
Oh, she is disturbed. Well, we're going to wrap this one up on that note, guys. I have really enjoyed the debate you guys have had in chat, though. For the most part, it was very, very respectful tonight. And I know that's difficult because there's a lot of pro-burgers out there. And I think that we all just need to kind of come together, have respectful debates, and wait for the trial. Wait for the evidence. Right? Yeah, she was late. She was in a wheelchair. Her son was out smoking dope. No, because Missy, I think this obsession comes before. I think that's why they got into the serial killer studies. Kind of like maybe because of that interest, you know? I don't know. But I really appreciated you guys tonight acting like adults. Adults. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going over something really super interesting tomorrow. The estate of Malcolm X is suing the CIA, the FBI, and the New York Police Department for conspiring in his murder. I've got the 83-page document straight from Ben Crumb, Malcolm X's family's lawyer. So we're going to be reading through that 83-page document tomorrow. I think that 2024 is definitely going to be the year of reveal. These conspiracies are coming to be not so conspiratorial after all. And I think that it's amazing. I think that it should have gotten more coverage. They did a press conference. But I'm going to go over it tomorrow. And if you are interested, I will be here at 3 p.m. as usual on Monday. I'm here at 3 p.m. Monday and Friday, Eastern Standard Time. So I'm really looking forward to reading that because, you know, this is part of the reveal, guys. These big alphabet agencies, right? That keep shit hidden from us. Lift that veil is what I say. Lift it, jammers. Lift the veil and expose those credits. Everybody stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Until tomorrow, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this live stream or video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my latest content. Want to take it a step further?
Bring it all in.
And join our community clickers by becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You'll get exclusive access to our Discord server, special channel perks, and much more. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.
Click. It's real easy, man.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. ain't got time for that. I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
Brian Kohberger.
I don't give a damn.
You know what I have to say to A&C Taylor, defense lawyer? Bring it on.
You're mad at me for not giving you comfort. You say that I'm away so much and now you don't feel the way you felt when we were younger. But that's okay for me, 'cause I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 I don't give a damn.
Hi, Jennifer.